Well, Hamas ended the ceasefire yesterday afternoon. After several days of a ceasefire, they began shooting at Beersheba, and we retaliated, and will continue doing that. These ceasefires are pretty peculiar. We seize, and they fire at us again and again and again. If they want this whole thing to go away, they need to stop shooting at us and disarm Gaza, and then we could continue living side by side.
Some will, though, question the timing, of course, when you ended the ceasefire, or indeed whether you say Hamas ended this ceasefire, because, of course, it does coincide with your strike, the Israeli airstrike, on a top Hamas commander.
Yeah, you know, in any case, we're always looking to get the commanders of these terror groups. You and I are in the same boat here, if I may say, fighting radical Islam. I mean, we're talking about the Islamic State, we're talking about Hamas, we're talking about radical Islamic states that want to create a big caliphate from Baghdad through Tel Aviv and to London. Whenever you identify a mega terrorist, you have to take him out like bin Laden, like al-Baghdadi if possible.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Center of Top 5 here on Press TV. Palestinian officials are blaming Israel for the collapse of a temporary ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
Israel announced the collapse of the negotiations when we were still negotiating through the Egyptian mediator. This is evidence that the decision was premeditated to foil the negotiations and destroy the calm period from the Israeli party's side.
Al-Ahmad said the talks could have brought peace, but there was an Israeli decision to make the talks fail. At least 3 Palestinians, including an infant, were killed and over a dozen were injured in Israeli airstrikes on the Gaza Strip earlier today. Hamas officials say there were at least 25 airstrikes across Gaza on Tuesday, despite the fact that a temporary truce was supposed to be in effect. Meanwhile, the Palestinian resistance forces have responded to the violation of the truce by the Israeli military by firing a barrage of rockets at Israel. The armed wing of Hamas says they fired 40 rockets at Israeli cities, including Tel Aviv.
Let's talk about the people, though, who are being killed, because whatever way you look at this, there are an equal number of casualties. More than 2,000 Palestinians killed, mostly civilians. That against 66 Israelis, mostly military. I mean, the figures just don't add up. Why are you killing innocent people?
We're retaliating to over 3,000 rockets shot at us. Let's make no mistake, Hamas has decided to shoot rockets and missiles on Israel from within civilian concentrations. This is a very cynical and cowardly approach. But can I ask you, how many Israelis need to die for us to gain your sympathy?
Hamas want you to lift the siege. I mean, why is it so difficult for Israel to do that if it will bring about peace?
No, we have no siege. There's no siege going on in Gaza. Every day there's dozens and dozens of shiploads or trucks of food and medicine and humanitarian needs flowing into Gaza. That's not a problem. The problem is that what they try and bring into Gaza is also weapons and more concrete to build more tunnels in order to kill more Israelis. And that's unacceptable. So the general rule is anything that's humanitarian will go in. Anything that can create weapons in order to kill Israelis, we won't allow in.
Very quickly, yes or no, are you going to go back to those peace talks in Cairo?
No, I think that those talks are over. Once Hamas has started shooting at us missiles again and again, we're not going to conduct talks under threat of shooting. We're facing a very determined radical Islam group. We have to beat it, and we will.
Al-Qassam brigades say one of the rockets targeted Israel's main airport, Ben Gurion International Airport near Tel Aviv. Another rocket fell in a settlement near Jerusalem Al-Quds. Let's talk to Press TV's Hisham Mahana, correspondent in Gaza. Hisham, over to you. How is the retaliation going on between Hamas and Israel?
the retaliation in Gaza Strip by the Palestinian resistance is continuing in retaliation for the continuous also Israeli airstriking and shelling all over the Gaza Strip. A few minutes ago, we heard a massive explosion to the east of to the eastern part of Gaza City, close to Shajaya neighborhood, as well as several bombardments took place in the north of Gaza Strip in Jabalia refugee camp and Beit Lahia. Also, several bombardments took place in the mid-zone in Deir Balah and in the south in Khan Yunus and Rafah. So all over Gaza Strip is now under the Israeli fire and the Israeli air warplanes, missiles. Dr. Musa Abu Marzouk, the representative of Hamas in the Palestinian delegation, announced in his latest press release that the assassination, or to be more precise, that the targeting of a Dalu family took place 3 hours ago in the west of Gaza City was an attempt to assassinate the head of Al-Qassam Brigade's leader, Muhammad al-Daif, but however his wife and his daughter were lost in that incident. So the head of Al-Qassam Brigade, Muhammad al-Daif, lost his wife and his daughter in another attempt. This is the third time Israel is trying to kill this man who has been considered as a legend and a ghost for the Israeli intelligence and military in general. So this will carry consequences against the Israeli military. If couldn't Israel assassinate Muhammad al-Daif himself, they will just
Well, Hamas ended the ceasefire yesterday afternoon. After several days of a ceasefire, they began shooting at Beersheba, and we retaliated, and we'll continue doing that. These ceasefires are pretty peculiar. We seize, and they fire at us again and again and again. If they want this whole thing to go away, they need to stop shooting at us and disarm Gaza, and then we could continue living side by side.
Some will, though, question the timing, of course, when you ended the ceasefire, or indeed whether you say Hamas ended this ceasefire, because, of course, it does coincide with your strike, the Israeli airstrike, on a top Hamas commander.
Yeah, you know, in any case, we're always looking to get the commanders of these terror groups. You and I are in the same boat here.
Go and kill him, his family, along with many of the civilians around the neighborhood or in the same house, as it's resulted at least in 3 people killed, a woman and a little girl. It turned out to be that they are Muhammad al-Daif's family. So, but however, Dr. Musa Abu Marzouk said also that it was a failure assassination for Muhammad al-Daif, as he could manage to survive this bombardment. Until now, we are still expecting this situation to escalate more and more in Gaza Strip. The resistance wouldn't allow Israeli army to rest, as they are still targeting the Israeli cities and villages across right across the border with Gaza Strip, and also in the heart of Israel, like in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, and in the north in Haifa as well.
Right.